Hello everybody, this is the Magic Man, the tennis preacher, the prophet, the psychic, coming back at you again with another video. Everybody, this is the Magic Man, the tennis preacher, the prophet, and the psychic, and the tennis pastory, coming back at you again with another video. People, I got a topic here. It's time for us to get serious about this whole GOAT debate. However, though, this ain't even going. Oh, excuse me. Oh, this is not even going to be a debate today. I'm just not going to analyze something. I'm going to call it. So today, it's like the title says. It's not about who's the GOAT. I've already talked about that. I still got Federer as barely, arguably the GOAT. We know the Djokovic. I am going to, like I told y'all, I'm going to look at that whole thing between Djokovic and Federer and see if Djokovic got enough to be the GOAT. But I still got Federer as arguably the GOAT. Okay, there's some doubt there, but he's arguably the GOAT. But here's the question today. Who is the best player between Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal? See, and it was two questions, because you got to answer the first question first. Is there a difference between best player and greater player? Because I think because Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic are all playing now, people get that confused where they say, well, Djokovic is doing all this. Shouldn't he be the GOAT? And then maybe somebody like me or other experts will say, well, maybe he ain't quite the GOAT. Federer is still the GOAT because maybe Federer's been around a longer time, and he has an accumulation of more achievements. Not saying that Djokovic is not right there close to him now, but Federer got way more majors, and he got so many weeks at number one, and so his accumulation over many years make him the GOAT. Okay, but then there's other people that say, well, Djokovic is doing this, he's doing that, so he's the GOAT. Well, maybe what those people mean, though, well, no, I do think those people mean that Djokovic is the GOAT, but forget what the people mean is correct or incorrect. What they should be saying is this here what they really are trying to say is that Djokovic is probably the better player or the best player. Now, but I do believe those people who say Djokovic is the GOAT, I do believe they know the difference between best player and the GOAT. I think those people who say that, and Djokovic fans, I think they believe Djokovic is the GOAT and the best player. Okay? So let's leave the GOAT thing alone. And we'll come back to that in another video. Let's get this best player down. Is Djokovic the best player? Hands down. Can we call that now? Yeah, we can wait on the GOAT thing. Even there's been even some Djokovic fans say, well, we'll wait and call the GOAT thing in a couple of years or 3 years. We'll find out who's the GOAT. Let's see if Federer wins another major. Let's see if Djokovic wins the Grand Slam this year or next year. But so forget the GOAT thing. Okay? We'll find out who's going to be the GOAT in the next few years. Can we call the best player, though? Is it time to stop analyzing and go ahead and say who is the best player? And can I call it now and say Djokovic is the best player? Whether it's by a little bit, whether it's by a lot, but is he the best player between Federer and Nadal? People were saying that Djokovic is the best ever seen. They were saying that back in 2015. And now that Djokovic has resurged again and won 3 straight majors, on the verge of winning 4 straight majors again and holding all 4 titles again, can we rightfully say, correctly say, confidently say that Djokovic is the best player ever? Now that's different than GOAT now. That's different than greater player. But so before I come back and call this thing and let y'all know whether I think Djokovic is the best player ever, or at least better than, well, we can say best player ever or better. Well, some people will say, well, if you say that he's the best between Federer and Nadal, and most people consider Federer and Nadal, I mean, if you may want to throw Rod Laver in there. I mean, I guess Rod Laver could be the one that Djokovic needs to be compared to if somebody want to go there, but we'll just keep it simple now. Yeah, well, most people say, well, if Djokovic is the best between Federer and Nadal, he's probably the best ever. Okay, I have no problem with that right there. Okay, all right. Like I said, Rod Laver is probably the only one that has, as far as best player, we know Rod Laver got the GOAT stuff. GOAT achievements. But Rod Laver also got the best player stuff, like winning the most tournaments in a year and all that. Y'all guys, I told y'all about that Rod Laver stuff. Nobody want to take me seriously about that Rod Laver. You better go read about whether you want to put Rod Laver up there with Djokovic and Nadal and Federer as far as best player comparisons and GOAT comparisons. I'm telling y'all, there is a serious comparison that Rod Laver is definitely not just in the conversation. He's competitive in that argument. I mean, there's a question there about, is Rod Laver the GOAT? Okay, and the best player, okay? So, but y'all can do that, but we'll leave the Rod Laver thing alone for now. Let's come back. All right, so let's get that question. What is the difference between greater player and best player? Because when I read the comment section, there is a great confusion about that. Now, some of the commenters do know the difference. I've heard them define the difference. So let me just try to give y'all like quickly a general difference between best player and but greater player and the best player. Okay, people, let's say I heard that Apple is like the top company now as far as they call Apple. I think Apple is almost worth $1 trillion or something like that. I thought they were over $1 trillion, but they said it's like almost 900. Apple is almost worth like $900 million now. And think about all the stuff that Apple has done. Somebody could say Apple is the best company out. And Apple beat out Amazon. I'm not going to say Apple's, well, there's a debate. Well, I'm talking about money-wise. Even Apple, now somebody could say Amazon's a better company with all the stuff Amazon, all the creative stuff Amazon is doing. But I'm saying as far as money, let's keep it about money. Apple is worth a little more money, not too much more, than Amazon. And you know, these companies like Nike, they worth a lot of money. So, but let's say Apple, let's say whether Apple is the best player. I'm just best company out. I'm not trying to debate that, but I'm using that as an example. So don't get in the comment section telling me, Magic Man, no, there's another company better than Apple. That's not really what I don't care whether Apple's the best company or not. But let's assume, just for the sake of this analogy, Apple is the best company out. Okay? For now, best company, okay? Like best player, okay? But that doesn't mean Apple is the greater company. Because somebody can, and there probably are companies, like Apple hasn't been around for centuries or for 100 years or even 80 years. So somebody could come, so Apple could be worth the most now. Apple could have been the most dominant company for the last decade or decade and a half. But somebody could say, well, there's a company that's been around since the 1800s that's made a lot of money and profits at a very high level. So that company would probably be the greater player as far as the accumulation over, notice this now, a high accumulation of achievements over a long period of time. Okay, so that's sort of like a Federer. Like we talking about 310 weeks at #1. That's why even I still keep Federer as the arguably the GOAT. Now, I'm not saying now listen, I did tell y'all that Djokovic, you could argue that Djokovic got all these other records that's almost the equal Federer's total greatness. Now I'm saying that, but I'm not confident about calling that yet. I said I do have a video coming out, and plus let's wait and let's give Djokovic and see what he's gonna do the next year or two. What's wrong with waiting to make sure we call the GOAT thing right? We don't want to give somebody the GOAT And then it ain't, and maybe they're not really the GOAT though. They could be something else. So I want to make sure I do things in a correct way. But I do think it's time to call the best player though. Okay, all right. So y'all saw now, so I just said that the greater company would be like the company that has the greatest number, most number of achievements over a long period of time, an accumulation, okay? All right? And so I was saying that could be like Fed's probably still wins that. If you look at Fed's stats over a long period of time, and that's why people sort of still keep him as, there's some doubt there, as arguably the GOAT. Okay, now best player now is different. Best player could be like Apple right now, the most dominant one. Like we know Djokovic just dominating, and best player, the one that can beat out their competitors, beat out their rivals, like Apple can beat out his rivals. Amazon can do it too. But I'm saying, like Djokovic, he's beat Nadal and Federer, beat him. I mean, and he's dominated, breaking records. That's that domination. And it don't have to be, not just over a short period of time, even over a medium short period of time. And even over an extended period of time. I mean, 5-6 years. He's making about 6 years of dominance now, almost 7. And so, I mean, I'm adding up the last 8 months. So it's almost 6 years. It ain't just no 1 year dominance. And let me see something else, the characteristics of a better best player. Now, people, let me just say this here. Now, usually, though, okay, all right. Now, this is not good news for Federer here, okay, as far as maybe ended up with the GOAT. Usually, the greater player is usually the best player. Okay, for most of his career, if you look at most sports. All right, and Federer at one time, it was no doubt Federer was the greater player out, even when Nadal would beat him, and Federer was the best player. Okay, now there was some, now listen, Nadal did, I will say this here, Nadal, I think when Nadal beat Federer in the, was it the 2013 semifinal Australian Open? I think it was the 2013 or 2012. Could have been 2013. I remember a friend text me, and Nadal beat Federer really bad. And my friend texted me and said, there is no doubt. Federer may be the greater player, but Nadal's the, Federer may be the greater player, but there's no doubt Nadal's the better player. Okay? And at that time, I would agree with that. At that time, Nadal was the better player. Now, I don't know if I want to say Nadal was the better player between Federer and between him and Federer over a long period of time. Even if somebody may say, well, Nadal got the better head-to-head. Yeah, that's true, but as far as playing the field, and plus Federer beat Nadal the last 4 times, and just looking at the way Federer beat Nadal the last 4 times, I don't know if I want to say Nadal was a better player than Federer. I don't know if Nadal fans even think that, but I do think Nadal is an equal player with Federer. I do think he is as good of a player as Federer, though. Okay, but I want to say, I'm getting, man, this better. See, this is a deep thing here, but let me sort of get back to this thing. Okay, so I've sort of defined to you what the difference between greater player and best player. You can be both, okay? And usually the GOAT is both. Now, that goes in Djokovic's favor for the future, in the near future, meaning if I'm going to give Djokovic the best player, if I'm going to do that in the next minute, and this is good news for Djokovic fans, and Djokovic fans already know this. This is what they say. They say we know Djokovic is the best player, so he's already got that over Federer, and it's just a matter of a year or so that a year or two, if he keep winning like he's winning, he'll be the greater player. Okay, so like I said before, you can have both of those titles, best player and greater player at the same time, and you can be the greater player and not be the best player, especially at a certain period of time or now, okay? All right, now that I've said that, so let me just go over that definition again. Greater player usually is, not even usually, usually it's the accumulation of a high level. Now the thing is high level of achievements, because it ain't just no accumulation of some low level achievements over a long period of time. Yeah, it's a high level of longevity, that you are performing at a high level over a long period of time. Like a Federer, I give that to Federer. Even if he ain't winning majors, he's pushing it into the semis, and he looks better. Even now, Federer looks better than these younger guys. Okay, so Federer, that's why I still got him as arguably the GOAT. All right, but best player, let me call it the best player, people. I would give that hands down to Djokovic. Okay, Djokovic has dominated both Federer and Nadal. He's come back. He's already won. He's already won 3 majors again. Y'all saw what he did against Nadal from 2011 to 2016. Then let's go recently. He come back doing the same thing. We saw him beat Federer 3 times in majors. And people, even this here, people, Djokovic beat Federer. Remember in the 2010 and then again in the 2011 U.S. Open? He beat him again. He beat him, Federer, before he got into the God mode. Djokovic didn't enter the God mode until like 2011. But remember, he beat Federer in the 2000, what was it the 2010 U.S. Open? And I think the 2011 U.S. Open. It could have been the 2010 U.S. Open and 2009 U.S. Open. I'm not totally sure about that. But he did beat Federer in back-to-back U.S. Opens when Federer had match point. And that wasn't even the top Djokovic. So, and Federer at that time was the better player, I thought. Okay? But Djokovic, hands down, I'm going to give him the best player of those 3 guys. If you want to, maybe he is the best player ever. Okay, maybe. Okay, I'm gonna have no problem with that title. I can give that to him, a best player ever. But I can call that, I would give that to Djokovic, best player ever. Okay, not the GOAT, not the greatest player ever yet. Because that's, like I said, that's an accumulation of many achievements. But he's close to that though. He's close. And what Djokovic is doing, he may be end up being a better GOAT than Federer, because he would have had the best player ever with the greatest player ever, and holding that at the same time. Not where he's the GOAT and then another player is the best player ever. Okay? All right, people? So Djokovic could end up being the best player ever and the greatest player ever. All right? And I'm basically saying he hasn't taken the GOAT away from Federer, but he has taken the best player ever title away from Federer and Nadal. Okay, people, and everybody else. Okay, people, tennis preacher, prophet, psychic. And people, let me add this here though. I will put a question here. If somebody come back in the comment section and say, well, we think, even if we're a Federer fan or not a Federer fan, and say, well, we think that Federer is still the best player ever, because at the age of 37, he can play better than all these younger guys. And even Djokovic said that he hoped that he can play like Federer plays at the age of 37, whether he's winning majors or not, but be able to play with such youthfulness and mobility and skill at the age of 37. If somebody say, well, that makes Federer still the best player, okay, I get that. I won't say that's stupid. I won't make a video against that. But I think that has about 30% weight. The almost 40% weight. That's huge. But I think Djokovic, because he's beat these guys, and it ain't about how you look. It's about winning too, and being able to show it when you're winning. I know Federer won at the age of 37, but Djokovic, I think he's did a better job on all surfaces of winning better than Federer. So I'm going to give him that title of best player ever. But I understand if somebody say the fact that Federer can play at the age of 37 years old and look that smooth with skill, he's the best player ever. Okay, people, so I got Djokovic. I'm giving him that title. Almost hands down. Almost. Hands down. I'm giving Djokovic as the best player ever title. I'm going to go ahead and give that to him. Tennis preacher, prophet, psychic, signing off. Have a good one. This is the magic man, the tennis preacher, the prophet, the psychic, coming back at you again with a